Hi guys, welcome back to DT Shortline. Well, I made it through the first week of my left knee surgery, which is the worst. So I'm glad to say, that it's nothing but really sore. So each week after that, you'll notice small improvements. So you just got to keep at it, but I'll be fine. But anyway, made it through the first week, so that's good. So this week's video is going to be on scale modeling, like cars, from small to large, and we'll just talk about the different scales. And also, if you guys are watching and you enjoy the channel, feel free to subscribe. It helps the channel, and I'd love to see more subscribers, or leave a comment, whatever. So let's get to it, and we'll talk about these models. Oh, and also, guys, watch to the end, because I throw in little stuff at the end, like my grandsons and we went to an antique shop, and there'll be more Morgan as a puppy, too, so I think you'll like that. So watch to the end. Okay, we're going to start out. This is a Mark II Jaguar, which all of these are. I kind of like old Jags. This is 1/87th scale, which is kind of like what they want you to use for HO. But these are a little pricey. They can be like 20 bucks a piece. And but that's the size they want you to use for HO. Now, N scale would be, like half of this, tiny. I don't have any of those. So that's your first step there, smaller HO. But what most people use are the Hot Wheels or Matchbox cars, which come in at like 1/64th scale. And, here's another one. So you could see the difference in size right there. And then when you go up to O scale, which would be 1/43rd scale, here's a British police car. They used these old Jags for cop cars because they were like the fastest four-door car they could get their hands on, to catch the bank robbers, bootleggers, and whatnot. And you could see, that's double the size there. Then you step up to these big boys. They're like 1/18th and 1/22nd scale, and then the bigger you get, you get more detail, stuff like that. So, but here the doors open. The interior is more detailed. There you go. The bigger you get, the more detail you get. And then I got a couple other Here's a coaster, old Jaguar coaster. And then I thought this was neat. We were in England one time. I was in an antique shop. This is an old tin box. It says English Carlectables. Doesn't really say what it was for. Ian Logan's, it's a company that makes it. But it's a Mark II tin box, And I thought, boy, is that neat. It's about the size of a pack of cigarettes. Or you could put candy in it, which is probably what it was, a candy box. But yeah, I had to pick that up. I said, boy, is that unusual. So, but I thought I'd share some of those things with you. And so now I got another model I'll show you over on the workbench. Okay, guys, here's the biggest one I have. This is another 1/18th scale. And as you can see, the bigger you go, the detail is just amazing. It's just like the real thing. You open the hood, and like if you wanted to check the oil, you would go down in here. So when checking the oil on one of these, you gotta get way down in there. There it is, right down there. So you gotta pull it out and check her here. Ah, yeah, we're good. So this is what you would call full scale. And if any of you guys are interested in a more detailed video on this car, let me know. I spent many years putting this thing back together. I kicked the mice out of it, redid the upholstery and the bodywork and everything. But, I know a lot of you train guys are car buffs too. So if you're interested, leave me a comment down below. But here's one thing I like about full scale. You can sit in it and enjoy it. And Jaguar, in case you don't know, this is a 62 Jaguar Mark II. And during World War II, Jaguar built airplanes, and they took a lot of that technology, and like your instrument panel here, there's a thumb screw here and one over here. You unscrew it, and this whole dashboard's on a hinge, and it curves down. Easy to work on for the wiring and gauges and all of that. And you just swing it back up, tighten them up, and you're good to go. And they also had the disc brakes they put on the car that came from the aircraft. They said, well, if that'll slow down a huge bomber, I think it'll do the job on a car. And that's how they won at Le Mans. They figured out that if you go fast, you got to stop fast. So they were one of the first with disc brakes. But here's what I like. 63 years ago, you had a key, you turned it on, and guess what? Electric fuel pump. I haven't started it for a while. So, okay, their carbs are full, but they had a push-button starter. Ooh. Yeah, I'll roll the window down. So you can hear it. But it has a nice deep burble to it. But that's what I like, push button start, but it still has a key. So, when you shut it off, I added an electric fan, if you're wondering what that is. I only use it when I'm stuck in traffic in the city, when I go to the Vintage Grand Prix. And it works. It keeps the temperature right down where it should be. So, yeah, and when you shut it off, guess what? You take the key with you, your car's off. You're not going to leave the car running, like with a push-button starter. So I kind of like that. I like having the key in my hand. But I'm old school, so what are you going to do? But yeah, if you'd like a more detailed video on this car, yeah, let me know. Leave me a comment. Okay, here's my grandsons. We're visiting Miller's Crossing. It's an antique shop. Let me zoom out here. They got my shirts on and they're on the caboose. Pretty cool. Okay, we were talking about stuff you get in the antique shop. This was $16 and you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 guys, which is a good deal. One's pushing a 2-wheel dolly, and another one has a wheelbarrow. One's got a hammer, one's carrying a crate. And I figure I could use them over at the hardware store here, moving stuff around. And then here's some stuff I got at Michael's. These were like $3. A whole family. So I got 2 packs. I mean, how can you go wrong? And then I got these. Well, these are normal prices. Woodland Scenics, $22.99 for a bunch of crates and barrels and whatnot. And then these were $16 for a bunch of people. These are just city people, walking down the street, waving hi. And then, here's a bunch of pedestrians. But, $22.99. The price goes up on this stuff. And then here's a bunch of people like I'm doing right now on their cell phones. But that was $26.99 because I guess it's popular. So, and then here's some more crates and whatnot, for around the street. So, but yeah, when you can get good deals, grab them because, yeah, this stuff's only going up in price. Alrighty, let's mop the floor. Come on, make sure you get in the grout line. Come on, am I doing it right? You gotta inspect it. So guys, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think.